One of the best ways to prepare yourself for a trip or even get inspired to travel somewhere is to read a book about a specific location. It doesn't have to be a tour or guidebook either. Even fiction that takes place in the location can spur interest in a destination. Hey, how's it going everyone? It's Ernest from Trip Astute. In this video, I want to discuss how you can get free ebooks and audiobooks to not only help inspire your next trip, but also keep you entertained and informed during your travels or even on your daily commute. First off, I have to say thank you to you all for getting us to 20,000 subscribers. I never imagined when we started the channel in 2017 that we would be here. In fact, I remember the day I got to 100 subscribers after asking friends and family on Facebook to subscribe. I appreciate all the support the community has provided, and I'm excited to see where the channel is headed in the future. I have to admit that I'm personally excited about today's topic, especially since I recently discovered it. I know it may seem crazy to get excited about free books and audiobooks, but I honestly can't think of too many things in life that bring me so much value that are free. This is also more of a life hack than a travel tip, but I think it applies to travelers, especially since we often are the type to learn about new places. We also tend to spend a lot of time flying to locations, so books are often a way to pass the time. And reading about a story that takes place in a specific destination can often help you to feel more connected while traveling. You'll often get a cultural awareness and historical context, which can be extremely valuable. Like Louis Pasteur once said, "Chance favors the prepared mind." Before we get started, if you're new here, welcome to our channel. Trip Astute is a travel channel that is focused on sharing ways to make travel easier, affordable, and more enjoyable. Traveling can be stressful and expensive, so we're looking for ways to help you maximize your experience through travel tips, points of miles, and innovative gear. If that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing. I've been a subscriber to Audible for a while. Initially, the thought of listening to audiobooks was weird to me. It felt like I was cheating by listening and not actually reading the book. However, what I found was that audiobooks work well for my lifestyle. I spend a lot of time driving in Los Angeles, especially with my commute to work. I've found audiobooks to be a great way to keep me occupied during driving. In fact, I found that I don't mind my commute nearly as much as before when I'm focused on a good story. I like being able to listen even when doing basic chores around the house, like dishes or by cleaning the bathroom. Plus, some of the narration adds to the characters and helps bring them to life. For those of you that read a lot, you know that getting books can be expensive. So today I'm going to share how I get ebooks and audiobooks for free. I use an app called Libby, and it's honestly changed the way I consume content. It's also saved me quite a bit of money, so I'm hoping it helps you too. Libby is a free app that you can download on your smartphone. It's essentially an app that allows you to borrow ebooks and audiobooks from the library for free. If you're familiar with the Overdrive app, Libby is similar. It's based on the Overdrive platform, but it's a lot more user-friendly. Using Libby is like virtually stepping into your local library to browse and borrow content. The libraries purchase a number of licenses or copies of a book, which can then be borrowed by members. Borrowing an ebook or audiobook is no different. You're essentially borrowing the copy, then returning it as if it were a physical medium. The hardest part of using Libby is getting a library card, which in reality is not very difficult. In my area, all the libraries require that you apply in person and provide identification and proof of address. It's completely free. All it requires is your time to apply and get a library card. Once you get a library card, you can load it in the Libby app. You may have to set up an online account with your library first. Once you have an online profile, you can then enter your library card and password or PIN number. This will link Libby to your library account and allow you to start borrowing electronic books or audiobooks from the library for free. Libby also allows you to add additional library cards. For example, since I live in Los Angeles, I have multiple library systems in my area. As a result, I got a library card from the Los Angeles Public Library and the Burbank Library, both of which are just a few miles away. This gives me access to both libraries for additional content and less waiting times. One thing to note is that you can only search within one library at a time, which is a bit annoying if you're trying to compare among different libraries. However, since your recent search history is saved, you can just switch to the other library and just hit the recent search query. It's just a few extra clicks, but I do think it's an area where the app could be improved. You can search on Libby like you would any other bookstore app or store. Once you find something that you want to borrow, you can see whether it's available. If so, you can download it immediately and keep it for a specific number of days. In Los Angeles, my public library system allows me to borrow content for 21 days. If a book is not available, you can place a hold on the book. The app even gives you an estimate on when the book will be available to borrow. If you place a hold on a book, then it will automatically be checked out for you once the book is available. If there are multiple holds for the same book, you'll be placed in a virtual reservation line for the book. And once your borrowing period is up, you can either return it manually in the app or the app can automatically return it for you so you don't incur any late charges. Of course, if you're done with your book early, you should return it as soon as possible so others can enjoy it. If you're an ebook reader that prefers to read on your Kindle, then you don't have to worry. The app allows you to transfer your borrowed book into your Kindle app. That way you can read your ebook on your Kindle, tablet, phone, or even desktop app. Fiona prefers to read rather than listen to audiobooks, so she's able to borrow books through the Libby app, then transfer them to her Amazon Kindle. Some of you might be wondering whether it's worth keeping an Audible or Kindle Unlimited book subscription. For many people, it's still worthwhile to have them. I still subscribe to Audible, but I switched to their silver plan, which means I only get billed every other month and get 1 credit for each billing. I really like the selection of Audible original titles, and sometimes there is a new release that I want to listen to before my library is able to get it. However, for the bulk of my content consumption, it's now on Libby. Lastly, some of you might be saying, I don't have time to read. I realize that we're all busy, but I honestly think it's something you should consider doing. Reading or listening to books is one of those habits that's constantly associated with successful people. And like travel, it's something that adds to your knowledge, which unlike material things can never be taken away. You owe it to yourself to make time to read. I think it's a great way to constantly learn new things. And if you're like me, then it makes me even more motivated to get through mundane tasks like driving in traffic or cleaning the house. If you plan to use the Libby app, here are some tips to keep in mind. Number 1, manage your holds. One thing that can be tough when borrowing a book from the library is that you have a limited time to read it. You can renew the hold, but only if there isn't another hold placed by someone else for the same book. If you start putting holds on different books, you might find that all your books get borrowed at the same time, which makes it impossible to consume all the content. The solution to the problem is to suspend your holds. When you suspend your hold, you basically keep your place in line, but your book isn't automatically borrowed. It essentially gives it to the next person in the queue. About a week or 2 before I think I'll finish my current book, I'll cancel my hold suspension, which means that it should be checked out for me soon. Number 2, set up filters. If you're solely looking for audiobooks or ebooks, then you want to set up a filter. That way you don't accidentally check out or place a hold on the wrong version of the book. You can usually tell the difference between an audiobook or ebook since you'll either be able to read or listen to a sample. Though I still have made the mistake, which is why I recommend creating a filter so you can only see the format that you want. Number 3, borrow tour books. I don't know if you all do the same thing, but I often find myself reading about my destination when I'm flying there. It's usually the tour or guidebook that I meant to read earlier, but with work and everything else going on, I'm usually digging into it on the flight over. While I love the idea of getting a physical tour book, they can be expensive and a bit bulky to carry, so I recommend downloading a few ebook versions. It might not be as easy as flipping through the physical copy, but it means less weight and less money to spend. Also, travel books tend to have different formats that appeal to different types of travelers. For example, if you're looking to get a Lonely Planet versus Fodder's tour book, it might be helpful to download both first to get a sense of the differences. Even if you plan to purchase the physical copy, this can save you time in determining the differences. And finally, number 4, read about your destination. One of the best ways to familiarize yourself with the location is to read a story about your destination. It doesn't have to be nonfiction either. You can learn so much about the context or culture of a place through the medium of storytelling. For example, since we're planning to take a trip to Hawaii next year, I recommended to Fiona to read Molokai, which is a historical fiction set in the early 20th century in Hawaii. The author does a great job of incorporating Hawaiian culture into the story, so I thought it would be a great way for her to get both familiar and excited about Hawaii before our trip. In fact, a lot of my travels were inspired by fictional books that got me interested in the place. And I think it's both respectful and fun to learn about the culture and history of your destination prior to your trip. Do you all make time to read? Have you tried the Libby app? What other services do you use to get free reading or audiobook content? As always, we hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If so, please give us a thumbs up and consider sharing the video with others. It really helps us with growing our channel and community. Until next time, travel safe and travel smart.